to a what's going on, everybody, and welcome to a double dose of Prime Sports World. Here, bringing you another edition of College Football Showdown. And we haven't been here in a couple weeks, but we got a lot to talk about here. I'm Israel Rivera, your host, and here with my man from the Daily Blitz.blog, Christian Simpson. What's going on, everybody? Missing in action is Matt James. Christian just came off a show with David, our show, so he's putting in double time tonight with the Prime Sports World. But before we start the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on all platforms. What's going on, Christian?
Man, you brought out the leather today. Leather so soft. I see.
I gotta bring it out, baby. I gotta, man. If I had to, man, I should have brought out the gold studs.
Right.
My wife got for Christmas. You know.
I hear you, man.
And I got the
Legends
hat.
never die.
I can't take the hat off because you know what? I'm looking a little scruffy.
Look, man, it's all good. Look, man. I'm bald, but my fuzz is starting to grow back already. And nah, man, I'm glad you said that, Izzy. Yeah, we doing double duty tonight at the Prime, man. But you know what? This is why you hired me. And this is what I'm here for, man. I'm here to contribute. I'm here to provide the analysis, you know, that everyone is listening to. And look, it's been a while since you and I have talked some football, so you know,
absolutely,
yeah, and I'm glad to be back on the air with you.
I'm absolutely. What's good, Glenda Rivera? And hey, we got 15 viewers, man. Hey, thank y'all for showing up so quick. 11 now. Y'all better come back on. Hey, y'all better come back on. Y'all better come back on. Okay, my man's talking about okay, they being funny. You know, Twitter. You know, YouTube got trolls.
Oh, of course.
You know, YouTube got trolls. It's all good, baby. It's all good, baby. Your mama like them too. Anyways, so let me talk about the first round of the college football playoff, Christian. What did you think about the first round of the college football playoff before we get going on the regular show?
I mean, look, it went as expected as I thought it would. I'll admit to you, I was so back and forth with Alabama and Oklahoma. You see the matchup and you just say to yourself, ooh, Oklahoma might get them again because they've had Alabama's number the last 2 years. I mean, they put a beat down on them in 2024, come away with a 2-point victory in Tuscaloosa in 2025. And look, Alabama don't lose to the same team 3 times in over a calendar year, do they? And I just love the adjustments that Alabama made in game. They didn't wait at the half. And if Latzia Brooks doesn't catch that touchdown on 4th and 2, you know, we're looking potentially at a 24-point deficit that Alabama's in, but Alabama adjusted and they did something in that game, Izzy, that they didn't do in the first meeting in Tuscaloosa. They put pressure on John Mateer, and Oklahoma could never recover.
Man, you know, I love that you brought up Alabama first because I really agree with everything you said. That defense, I was really we text during the game all the time.
Yeah,
we text all the time. And what was my first thing I said in the first half, Christian? I said Alabama playing soft again.
They were.
Playing soft.
Listen. I don't know what it was. I don't know if Kalen got my message or something, but what we saw in Norman in that first round game, that was Alabama Crimson Tide football. They got back to the basics. I know they really struggled to run the football, but defensively, that pass rush got home. Those linebackers were able to sit back in coverage. And big number 99, Tim Keenan. Yes. You know my saying, Izzy. You better have game.
If you got
two first names, baby. And
yes, sir.
Look, man, that's a big win. To me, that's the best win next to Georgia for Alabama. And I think they kind of wanted to send a message. Yeah, we know we didn't look all that great in the SEC championship game. And yeah, we know we lost 3 games and we made the college football playoff, but they showed they deserve to belong.
Right. No, they do. And another game I want to touch on is Miami and Texas A&M.
I'm so glad you went to this because Izzy, the former defensive player in me, was smiling from the left side to the right. Listen, I understand football is a game where you want to see the offenses, high octane offenses. You want to see the ball fly up and down the field. But the football purists, such as you and I, we loved every second of that game. And the fact that Miami decided to muck the game up, turn it into a dogfight, and 1 through 11, that was glory, the U days. I'm talking athleticism, and just pure punch and pure fight in each tier of the defense, right? And Miami just made one more play when it mattered most. Mark Fletcher was the reason why they were able to win this game.
Man, and so yeah, I was gonna pull up his stats here, but man, Mark Fletcher was a man amongst boys in that game. He had the one, I think, what was it, like a 60-yard run to kind of put Miami down there. And then they ran that jet sweep play to the freshman wide receiver
Malachi Tony.
Malachi Tony, yeah, who had a pretty quiet game. They kept him in check pretty for most of the game. Texas A&M did, and they were trying. Miami was trying to find ways to get him on the edge. They were trying to find ways to trying to get him open. But Texas A&M did a good job at bracketing him all game, and he ended up getting in the end zone. But Mark Fletcher was a man amongst boys. They could not stop that guy, man. I mean, and like we'll talk about him in the matchup against Ohio State, definitely. But there's two guys that I want to touch on from Miami's defense that, and you know where I'm going here, they're gonna give Ohio State some problems too, and they gave Texas A&M some problems.
Are you
and Ruben Bain?
Ruben Bain to me was the best player I saw in the ACC defensively all year long. You talk about a guy that's disruptive. Look no further than Ruben Bain, and I love the motor that he plays with. Like, he never gives it up. And Izzy, you're a coach now. What's the one thing you always preach to your players? You play until that whistle is blown. And Ruben definitely brings that. But I remember texting you during Miami and Texas A&M, and before that game, what did I say to you? What are they gonna, if Miami can keep Marcel Reed and KC Concepcion in check, they win this football game. And look at what happened.
And they did. And and going down the stretch on it, I was a little disappointed in Texas A&M's play calling in the red zone, because I felt like they should have got, you got down there to the 3-yard line or so, and I felt like Marcel Reed's biggest strength in the red zone has got to be his legs. You have to try and get Marcel Reed going on the ground there in the red zone. He's money, I think, in the red zone. And, I just think that Texas A&M, wasn't able to do that. They didn't do that. And, I mean, I don't know if it was the pressure, how good that front seven was for Miami. I mean, that was a hell of a hit. I mean, he had I forget who he hit over it was like on second and go or third and go. He hit a guy. He hit one of his guys over the middle, and that Miami linebacker just he ended up hitting him so hard he hurt himself by launching himself in there. But he made the necessary play to stop them from getting into the end zone, and that's what you need. When you look at the Miami team, you brought it up earlier, bringing up those days back, the early 2000s Canes, the 80s Canes. Those teams had a identity,
Bingo.
Right? And their identity was defense, and their identity was being able to play fast. And that's what this team does. They play great defense when they need to. Yeah. They play fast. And, it's going to be interesting to see, as they move on in the playoffs, especially going against Ohio State. We all talk about that one guy that needs to step it up for them. And, it's the quarterback.
And I'll say this, Izzy. To me, this was the best win for Mario Cristobal and his Miami Hurricanes tenure as head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of moving forward, touching on the G5 schools, two G5 schools, going up against James Madison and Tulane, going up against Ole Miss and Oregon. There's a lot of debate. They need to just kind of get rid of that. Two basically non-showings. No shows for two G5 teams, and I mean you're going to continue to see it. I mean, and it's hard to have consistent G5. And I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Boise State, who's, I think they're moving over to the Pac-12, the new Pac-12 now.
Yeah.
Because they're creating a new one now, and Boise State's going to head that. And they're a team that consistently always, they have their own niche of recruits at Boise State. That's one team, one kind of G5 kind of school. I don't know if they're going to consider them now that they're in the Pac-12. They were in it last year, that has a chance to kind of make that upset, right? They in the past they were able to upset Oklahoma. We already know in the Fiesta Bowl, right?
Yeah,
Statue
I
of Liberty
remember
play,
that. I
hook and
remember
ladder
that. Hook
play,
and ladder.
right?
Yeah.
And then and I brought up like the really good, like the MAC schools, right? The MAC schools are always tough, right? I look at like Northern Illinois, right? When they went to the Orange Bowl, they gave Florida State all they can give for 3 quarters until the talent took over. But for 3 quarters, they stuck in there for Florida State. And that next year, Florida State won a national title. I talk about Western Michigan, right? Western Michigan made it to the, I believe it's the Peach Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, just after Northern Illinois, right? And they played Wisconsin to the end of the whistle, right? And so I'm like, and Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last year. So I said, hey, these hardworking MAC schools, they're those schools in like Boise State, but then these other guys, I don't know what it is, like the Sun Belt schools and the AAC schools. I don't know what it is, but the talent discrepancies is just, it's a different level. And I want to say this, it's gonna be hard moving forward, especially with this generation of the transfer portal, and all the NIL generation. It's gonna be hard for a G5 school to be consistent with being a good program, building a good program. I think of Northern Illinois, they've lost already 16 guys to the portal.
Yeah, but
how are you supposed to build a program like that? Look at James Madison, their coach is gone. Look at Tulane. Their coach is gone. He's at Florida. James Madison's coach, I think, went to UCLA. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be tough when all the really good G5 schools, they get good talent, and then the next year they're hightailing into a big time school and they're getting NIL money. They're getting more money, right? Big small time coaches has always been a stepping stone. The MAC, some of these small time players, we all know they're stepping stone jobs, right? They end up leaving and go to the bigger time schools. So it's hard for the G5 schools. So, like I said, I think moving forward, we got to put the best 12 in there. I feel like, I'm a bias. Notre Dame probably should have got in. You know what I mean?
Can't disagree with
it's just like, over James Madison and Tulane. I mean, one of those schools maybe should have got in. There you get another school. But as they move to 16 schools, probably in another couple years, we probably won't have this problem.
Look, I want to say this about Tulane and Ole Miss. How happy do you think Ole Miss was just to focus on football? Because for a month and a half, they had that ongoing distraction. Is Lane going to LSU or is he going to Florida? And he let it hang around. So I kind of blame him for this instead of focusing on a football team. But they went out and they got this win for the is he the permanent head coach now, Pete Golden? Because they went out and they play hard for him. I mean, Trinidad Chambliss did what Trinidad Chambliss does, and Ole Miss, they have a three-headed monster on offense, and Trinidad Chambliss, Keywan Lacey, and Dejon Stribling. Like, if those three have it going and they're all in sync, this is a tough group to defeat. And then TJ Dottery, the linebacker for Ole Miss, he's a hell of a player as well, is he? I mean, they have four guys that can really set the tone on either side of the ball.
Yeah, and on the James Madison side, I mean, their quarterback's leaving. You know what I mean? Like, and I just bring this up because he's probably going to go to a good school. He's probably going to go. But I mean, we're looking at like Oregon, James Madison. I mean, they scored a bunch of garbage time, and I want to say this. Oregon kept a lot of their first teamers in there, but it wasn't the same. Like, you could tell, like, they kind of taking the gas off the pedal a little bit. Playing a little lazy.
Yeah.
Playing a little lazy. You're up 30-something points against James Madison. Everyone made it a big deal. Oh, James Madison scored 4 points against Oregon. Oregon was up like 38-7. I mean, it was like, what were they up? They were up, by halftime, they were up 34-6. And at one point it was like 42-6 or something. It was some ridiculous like discrepancy. And so, like, yeah, James Madison came back and they were scoring a bunch of garbage time touchdowns, but none of those two teams didn't belong, in my opinion. And I think we have to have a reform moving forward when it comes to the CFP. hopefully we get that because if a G5 deserves to be in a school, and if a G5 gets into the college football playoff, they should absolutely deserve to get in the college football playoff and be the best top 12 team in the nation. It shouldn't be the best group of 5 school that's ranked in the group of 5, the number 1 ranked group of 5 school. They should be jumbled all together so we can truly see, because these first. And then another thing I want to point out, Christian, before we move on,
let's hear it.
With these, I understand college football wants to keep the tradition. They want to keep the integrity. They want to keep the bowl games in the college football playoff. But teams like Indiana that are number 1 seed, they should not be playing on a neutral site field just because it's in the quarterfinals. We should not be playing the New Year's Eve bowls. We should leave those bowl games to the next best 12 that didn't make it to the college football playoff. We should leave it to those teams, right? So then you actually can see who's going to be playing on that stage, right? On the big stage. I would have loved to see Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love playing the Rose Bowl or something. I would have loved to see something like Notre Dame, Penn State, or whoever the case, whoever you want to put in there, the next best 12 playing the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, or whatever the case is, and reward Indiana, reward Ohio State, reward Texas Tech, reward Georgia for being a top 4 seed in the college football playoff, and let them play on their home field. Let them play on their home field. I don't understand why we got to keep the pageantry, why we got to keep these bowl games intact in the college football playoff. Let other teams play that shit. We have a college football playoff for a reason. The higher seeds should continue to play on their home field until we actually get to the national championship. I don't know if you agree, but that's just my take on the college football playoff. That's what reform that we should do.
You're not wrong. And I mean, you could make a case for Notre Dame being in, but I think they looked at the head-to-head trajectory and they put Miami in over them and they put Texas A&M over them. And those are the 2 teams that Notre Dame lost to. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, and it's looking like, Miami played, they pit them 2 together and Miami won. So, we'll see. I mean, I was big on if those 2 teams played each other again, that Notre Dame would beat them. But hey, I'm not on the committee and I don't make the rules.
Maybe we need to be on the committee.
We do, because I got some. I mean, I really do agree. I really do. I'm gonna stand on this hill that the quarterfinal, at least in the quarterfinals, bro, like Indiana should be playing a home game against Georgia.
I agree.
I mean, against Alabama.
I agree.
Wouldn't you want to see Alabama playing cold weather?
I would love it. I would love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I would love it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Wouldn't you want to see Miami from the South playing Ohio, playing the Horseshoe in December? Like cold weather? Like all we're doing is we're favoring the South in a way, right?
Yeah,
we're favoring the South by putting it in a neutral site field. When in the NFL, when these guys get to the pro level, we ain't playing on neutral site fields. Y'all are playing. If Green Bay is Chicago, you got to go to Chicago. You're going to go play in Chicago. It's cold as hell down there,
and you better get used to it.
Better get used to it. So I feel like we should, at least for the quarterfinals, let's reward the top 4 and have them play on the home field instead of the neutral site field. Let those New Year's Eve bowls, let those bowls go to other teams, right? Other teams that would love to play in those bowl games. Nobody wants to play in a Pop-Tart Bowl. Nobody cares about playing in the Michelin Man Bowl. Like, teams will get up and play in the Rose Bowl. Teams will get up and play in the Cotton Bowl. They'll play in the Fiesta Bowl. But nobody wants to play in a Pop-Tart Bowl. Nobody's watching that. Nobody's watching that game. So that's just me. Anyways, moving on to coaching news. And we got some big news here for coaching news. And I guess the number one news that we're gonna talk about here is Kyle Whittingham, who seemingly he stepped down a few weeks ago from Utah. And everybody knows who Kyle Whittingham is in the college football community. He is the all-time winningest head coach in Utah Utes history. He was the former defensive coordinator. He's a longtime Utah coach. I talked about it. He was at the University of Utah for damn near most of his life. Majority is his adult life. He went from BYU playing 4 years at BYU straight into playing, being a coach at some capacity at the University of Utah. Even was the defensive coordinator under Urban Meyer for 2 years before taking the reins he was the head coach at Utah for 20 years before stepping down. And he was stepping down because of really same thing why Nick Saban wanted to step down, right? He couldn't take the portal anymore. And, he's just kind of getting older and up there. I think he's almost close to 70.
Yeah, I think he's like 66 years old. He's
66 years old. And so now he becomes the new head. This is an opportunity he couldn't, pass by. Called up Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer said he called me up and, kind of weighed the options. And Urban was like, are you kidding me? You got to go. And so, it was a big thing from him and his family and a lot of the colleagues told him to take the job. And he's taking the job. And I love the first thing he said, Christian, at the press conference. He said, this game is won on a line of scrimmage. Beautiful. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring toughness to the line of scrimmage and we're going to run the football. Yeah. And I absolutely love that.
Listen, man, Izzy, you look at a lot of his teams in Utah, they stayed within their box. They were never teams that were going to light up the scoreboard. They weren't going to push the ball up and down the field unless they had to. Like they knew how to pick their spots, but they wanted to control the line of scrimmage and run the football. I mean, this year, Utah averaged close to 290 yards per game running the ball. And you look at Michigan a couple of years ago. What were they successful at in that championship run? Running the football, pounding that rock in between the trenches with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And if he can create a 1-2 punch out the backfield, kind of like what Jim Harbaugh had all those years ago, Michigan could get back to it. But I just want to see what he's going to do with Bryce Underwood, because we saw a couple of flashes from Bryce, but he wasn't able to consistently put it together. But I heard that Kyle is bringing Jason Beck with him, his offensive coordinator from Utah to Michigan. So I want to see what he's capable of doing. But Michigan, they want to get back to the basics, playing good defense. The defense isn't the problem. It's the offense. It's the question marks on offense. Hit the transfer portal, see what you can get, surround this team with weapons, and Michigan's going to be right back there in atop the Big Ten.
Absolutely. And I think he's gonna have access to all the boots, all the money in the world to get any recruit he wants. And he even said, we know he's 3-0 versus Michigan as a Utah Utes head coach too, right? So he's gonna bring toughness. He's gonna bring smash mouth football back to Michigan. He's gonna bring a defensive identity. He's a defensive coordinator. He's a smash mouth middle linebacker that is a legend at BYU. Is definitely coaching legend at Utah. He's got so many dang wins. He's the all-time winningest coach in Utah. He'll never, ever pay for a meal in Salt Lake City. That's for sure. And you know me, I used to go to Salt Lake City all the time. I've made spend a lot of time in Salt Lake City. Literally, there are restaurants that says Kyle Whittingham eats here for free. That's how much of an impact he has in the state of Utah. Okay. Yeah. So this guy is gonna bring. It's a blue blood program. This is exactly what Michigan needs to get back after the Sherrone Moore incident. And I didn't want to have a show and talk about Sherrone Moore. I got my own so with Sherrone Moore, everybody was joking on him, clowning him. I'm not gonna be the man to kick I'm not going to be the man to joke and kick a black man down in America while he's on his tough time.
Yeah, there you go.
That's just me, bro. Just me, bro. I got more pride than that, my boy.
Yeah, so, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, but they had to do what they had to do, and best of luck to whatever Sherrone Moore's endeavors, and hopefully he gets through that troubled time that he's going through and stuff like that. It's a rough time for him and his family. But Kyle Whittingham, this is all about Kyle Whittingham, and I think at Michigan. He's gonna do some good things, and I think that rivalry, Ohio State Michigan, we it's on and popping next year. It's on and popping
Yeah,
next year, and I
yeah,
think he's in line for a new quarterback too, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, Blake Underwood is looking, or don't quote me on that, but I think Underwood is looking possibly to go elsewhere.
yeah.
Just
And but
was
you know what? Yeah, and I want to see.
speculating.
Yeah, and I want to see if Kyle can bring his own guy in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, in my opinion,
that's what head coaches are all about. They want to develop their own, someone that they can they can put out there and say, hey, I can use him to his full strengths. And I don't know if he and Bryce would have been a good pairing.
yeah, and Bryce wish Bryce the best of luck somewhere else. I don't think yeah, like you said, I don't think that style. I think he's probably looking to bring in a veteran. He's got some running backs already there. He's gonna. I mean, I'm very excited to see what's gonna happen for Michigan in the upcoming future. Next is Marcus Freeman. He's staying at Notre Dame amid NFL interest. There were some teams that were clamoring to possibly make him a head coach next season, but he stays at Notre Dame. Thoughts on that, Christian?
I'm glad he's staying. I think he and Notre Dame, it's a hand and glove fit. The players love playing for him. It just seems like this team is elevated since he's taken over as the head coach. They were in the national championship last year. They're only going to get better. They have a really good recruiting class coming in. And you also think about it. If he did leave, who do you get to replace him? Like, think about it. Like, that's who.
True.
Yeah, because in my
That's true.
opinion, Marcus Freeman is a top 5 head coach in the country. If I had to give you the list, it's Kirby. It's who else can we throw in there? I'll say Kirby. I'll say Kurt Signetti.
Kurt Signetti, Big Kurt's definitely got to be in there.
On, man. Big Kurt, yeah. Kirby,
yeah.
Kurt Signetti. I'll throw Kalen DeBoer in there. Like, seriously.
I got. Yeah. I mean, you also got to throw in Ohio State's head coach as well.
Yeah. So okay, we'll go. Kurt Signetti, Kirby Smart, Ryan Day.
Yep.
I can make a case for Dan Lanning.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Dan Lanning's, yeah. I mean, as much shit as I talk about Dan Lanning, I think Dan Lanning's an excellent head coach. I can't deny it. He's an excellent head coach.
Yeah, he really
I just talk a lot of shit because he just says stuff that just get under my skin.
Yeah,
but he's a great head coach.
Yeah, but Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman.
You got to throw Kenny Dillingham in there. We got to throw Dillingham from Arizona State in there. He's pretty damn good.
Yeah, too. He's pretty damn good too. But
Matt Campbell was good at Iowa State.
And look,
he's at Penn State now.
We'll right here. I mean, Lane Kiffin is pretty good as well.
Kiffin, yep.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer. So, Marcus Freeman, he's young, he's energetic. I think he actually would have been pretty good for the NFL because the NFL always has these waves of coaches, and young, innovative coaches are what's in right now. Marcus Freeman is only a couple years older than us, is he?
Yeah, I know. He's pretty damn young, man. He's like late 30s. But I one thing that I like that you brought up, you brought up him, Kirby, whoever else, James Franklin, whatever the case is. I know you didn't bring him up, but Dan Lanning. One thing those guys all have in common is they are great recruiters. For like 4 or 5 years in a row under Coach Kelly, Marcus Freeman was the best recruiter in the nation. And then when Kirby Smart was under Nick Saban, he was the best recruiter in the nation. And Marcus Freeman kind of took him over. So, the best coaches are some of the best recruiters, but they can also develop talent. He's done that. I just wish that they would start the season strong, start to finish. So, there's no, nothing left to be, no stones unturned at the end of the season. But I'm glad he's staying at Notre Dame and bringing that consistency and toughness to us. Next, and lastly on the coaching news, on the coaching front, I want to pose a question because there were a lot of coaches that were moved around. There was a coaching carousel going around. And so in 2026, moving forward, who do you think will have the most impact on their new team? So I'll bring off some coaching changes. For you, Christian. James Franklin goes from Penn State to Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Eric Morris, who was the North Texas head coach, goes to Oklahoma State. We just heard about his star running back and quarterback, Messmaker, going probably transferring. They're probably going to go to Oklahoma State, both of those guys. And I will say this about Eric Morris. Next to Lincoln Riley, he's probably the best quarterback evaluator because he was at Incarnate Ward and he took a chance on Cam Ward and he developed Cam Ward at first. Yeah. And so, and then he does whatever he does with Messamaker, who was basically not recruited and turned him into one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I can't remember who. There was another quarterback as well that he was able to develop as well. I'm trying to pull him up as well because I was reading him up as well. It was Patrick Mahomes. So he was the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. Yeah, when Patrick Mahomes was there. So this guy is a hell of a hire for Oklahoma State. We all talked about Mike Gundy kind of, having all that success, but never really taking him to another level.
Next level.
Yeah, at Oklahoma State. John Summerall, Tulane of Florida. He was just in the CFP. We got a couple of CFP G5 guys. Bob Chesney goes from James Madison to UCLA. Jim Mora, 2 seasons at University of Connecticut.
At UConn.
18 wins. They didn't win 18 wins for 8 years before he got there. And he got it in 2 years. He goes to Colorado State. He's got a chance in the Mountain West Conference to possibly, if the G5 thing's still in play, to take that team to maybe a CFP. Matt Campbell, we talked about him. Iowa State to Penn State. Kyle Whittingham, we talked about him. Pat Fitzgerald, coming off hadn't coached for years, coming off the controversy at Northwestern. He's the head coach at Michigan State now.
Yeah.
And then obviously Lane Kiffin, the big one, left Ole Miss to go to LSU. We all were kind of up in arms with that. He's getting $25 million in NIL money from boosters. Who would turn that down? But out of all those guys and out of other guys that I didn't mention, there's some other guys that I didn't mention, coordinators that switched over. Who have the most impact in 2026?
I'm going to say Matt Campbell. And
Ooh.
Izzy, you know how high I've been on Matt Campbell. Anytime we recorded an episode of College Football Showdown, what's the one thing I would always tell you and Matt James? I would love to see him at a bigger program. We're finally getting the opportunity. We talk about a leader of young men, a guy who can keep the locker room together. And, I'm so pumped for him in this opportunity. He's young. He kind of coaches with a smooth charisma about him. And I have a feeling a certain quarterback that he coached in Ames is going to be his quarterback in Happy Valley and Rocco Beck. Yeah. But, I just think, this was an opportunity that Matt couldn't pass up. I think Matt is one of the more underrated coaches we have in the country, and I can't wait to see what he does with this program.
And he's also, you got, he had two really good running backs at Iowa State as well. And Osama and I forget who the other kid is, but a real smash and dash type of running backs there in Iowa State. You might look at those guys. He's still got 2 hell good running backs still on the slate. Not sure. I think with Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, I'm not sure if those guys are probably declared for the draft because they're juniors this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I hope they come back because when those guys are when those guys are on the field, Izzy, we talk about it all the time. They are the best tandem of running backs in the country, and I don't even think it's close.
Man, those 2 guys with Matt Campbell.
Oh my God.
Dude, that's like a match made up because he wants to run the football. Matt Campbell wants to run the football and then do play action pass. Add Rocco Beck with the talent that they have at Penn State. Man, you're spot on. I like that one. For me, I think in 2026, I think this is kind of going to be, on the lower end, the most impact. And I'm going most impact just because of how probably bad they were. But I'm actually going to go Pat Fitzgerald, Michigan State.
Okay. I
think Pat Fitzgerald, Michigan State. I think people are real low on the hire. They think the game is past Fitzgerald up. He hasn't coached in so long, yada, yada, yada. But I think Pat Fitzgerald is going to create an identity down there in East Lansing that people are not ready for. And he's going to make a change at that university, and he's going to bring his identity. We already know Pat Fitzgerald, smash mouth guy, played for the Northwestern team back in the early 2000s that made it to the Rose Bowl. And so I think Pat Fitzgerald is an excellent hire for Michigan State. I think next year he's going to have the biggest impact. They're going to have the biggest jump. I think they only had 4 or 5 wins. I think I could see 8 wins, 9 wins for Michigan State next year. And I think give it a couple years, and Michigan State will be back, and they'll be back as being a player in the Big Ten under Pat Fitzgerald, in my opinion. For years, I mean, dude, Mark D'Antonio was an excellent coach.
Yeah,
he was an excellent coach for Michigan State. We talked about, they're always playing little brother to the basketball program, obviously. But Mark D'Antonio was a solid coach for Michigan State after Nick Saban left. And now you get Pat Fitzgerald, who really took a Northwestern program to
newer heights.
Newer heights. I mean, before the scandal, Northwestern was right there. You could make. I know Northwestern's a rich school, but you could make the argument that, that's new stadium they built in Evanston because of Pat Fitzgerald's success there for the football team.
Most definitely,
in my opinion. This guy is going to bring a different type of culture that Michigan State hasn't had in a while, and I think that he's going to make the biggest impact. Obviously, we could talk about the big ones, Lane Kiffin. They're going to be working with $25 million in NIL money. LSU just needs a few tweaks here and there. Lane Kiffin's going to turn them around. Kyle Whittingham, I know, is another big one. You know what I mean? Obviously, I think he's going to have access to all those recruits and stuff like that. And then we can also talk about John Summerall, right? Oh, and what's interesting about Billy, the James Madison coach going to UCLA, is that Billy Napier, how far you fall from grace? You go from Florida to now being a head coach at James Madison. Everybody's got to start back from somewhere. You got to start back from ground zero to kind of work your way back up.
Definitely.
So it's a crazy turn of events right there. Yeah. But I think that Summerall from Tulane, he's going to bring a different type of attitude. Hopefully, DJ Lagway already hit the portal, so he's going to probably, I'm not sure where his quarterback from Tulane, he was the former quarterback from BYU, Jake Retzlaff. I'm not sure if he may transfer to Florida. I'm not sure what his eligibility is, but I'm sure they'll find a loophole in this new generation of the transfer portal, right? So, anyways, that's the coaching changes here going on. You guys let us know in the comment section who you think will be the biggest hire and have the most impact in 2026. And now, moving forward to the meat and potatoes of the show, we got the college football playoff quarterfinal preview here, ready to talk it up with my boy Christian Simpson. And I know he's got some stuff in the lab. We decided to do it 2 days before because these games start on Wednesday and Thursday. So I know Christian's already in the lab. I know Friday probably would have been a little too early to talk about it. So we bringing it in Monday, so it's fresh. Christian, I know you probably already got something already in mind or what you're about to preview and what you're going to preview or previewed. I haven't seen anything yet, but anyways, moving on to the first game we have on stage. It's actually the New Year's Eve game in the Cotton Bowl between number 10 Miami and number 2 Ohio State. This one is a rematch, and you got a lot of the guys in Miami talking about the 2001 national championship game in which Ohio State was it? I think that's not 2001, it's 2003, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
2003, yeah. Where Maurice Claret and we're talking about the infamous pass interference call in the end zone that kind of kept Ohio State alive in that football game in which they won. The Miami faithful can't wait to play it. Jeremiah Smith was quoted as saying, they're worried about something about 20 years ago. We got something for them this year. That is hot to handle right there. Your thoughts on the game? number 10 Miami versus number 2 Ohio State, man.
Now, Izzy, you know what's coming, baby.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it on my
Let's
count.
do it.
1, 2, 3. Shameless
Shameless plug
plug number
number 1.
1, baby. Look, I cannot wait for this game. You got two of the bluest of blue bloods in our sport. I remember that national championship, and the kids that are playing for these teams now, they probably don't even remember it. I highly doubt they were even born when that game was going on, but I'm sure they know something about it. Miami, they can give Ohio State problems. I mean,
Yes.
look, they have the pass rush, and if they can take anything away from Indiana, what do I always say, Izzy? The bully don't like to get bullied. And that's what Indiana did. What makes you think Ohio State can't do it? I mean, Miami can't do it, but I think this is a little bit of a blessing in disguise for Ohio State, just due to the simple fact this time kind of reminds me of when they lost to Michigan last year.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to go back to the drawing board, adjust, see what you did wrong, see what you did right. How can you attack moving forward? And they kept their foot on the gas en route to another national championship. They're back in the Cotton Bowl. This is where they clinched the spot last year against Texas to the national championship game. I cannot wait to get my hands on this one. I preview it on Wednesday, 2 hours before kickoff, and my main man right here, Israel Rivera, is going to be the first to see it, baby. You know, it's a family thing, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that this game is very interesting. I got an upset of the week. It's Alabama over Indiana. Okay. We'll get to that in a second. That's my upset of the week, as you guys can see. But if I had to pick a second upset, it's Miami over Ohio State. And it's because I think Mark Fletcher is about to go on a Zeke Elliott-esque run in the college football playoff.
So you're
where he's just running through teams. Just straight, big, physical runner. The line is leaning on guys. We all know Mario Cristobal's offensive line coach, right? That's what he brings, big physical linemen. I talk about that one guy that needs to make plays, though. And he's been there, done that, and that's Carson Beck. One guy that needs to make plays is Carson Beck. And for the last month and a half, he ain't been making plays. He actually been playing great football in the second half of this season. But this is a new season now. And Carson Beck, you know what? All you need to do is just exist in between the 1 or 2 seconds in which you hike the ball and hand the ball off to Mark Fletcher. Okay. Look, and then make some plays to Malachi Tonin and don't turn the ball over. And I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, and there's two X factors I'm watching in this game from Miami. It's the guy you just mentioned, Malachi Toney. Reminds me a lot of T.Y. Hilton. Can play in the slot, can play on the perimeter, goes deep, can play intermediate, can go short. He can flip this game in momentum that will favor the Miami Hurricanes because he can take a screen pass and turn it into a 50-yard chunk play. And then on the Ohio State side, we already know what they're going to do. They're going to try and they're going to bracket Jeremiah Smith. The key in this game, to me, is Carnell Tate. Because I've seen Julian saying target Carnell quite a bit. And anytime Carnell has had his number called, he's answered. Every single time. I cannot wait for this matchup. How many times do you think you and I are gonna text during this game, Izzy?
Probably a lot. A lot. Yeah. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. You got the true freshman and Bo Jackson back there running the football. CJ Donaldson. I mean, they got weapons all over. But there's two guys that are gonna, have to show up, and those are those two tackles for Ohio State as they go against Akeem Messidor and Ruben Bain, because they are going to get after the quarterback. They're not going to rush. They're not going to blitz. They're going to rush 4. They're going to drop 3 back in the coverage, and they're going to say, we got the 2 best pass rushers in college football. And arguably, they do have the 2 best pass rushers in college football. So, I'm looking at the 2 tackles in Austin Shreveld and Philip Daniels. Those guys, whoever are the tackles for Ohio State, are going to have a handful with those 2 guys. if I'm going to pick a second upset of the week, I think it's going to be Miami over Ohio State. I think they're going to run the football. They're going to keep it close as long as you can get at the rush. Speed up that clock on Julian Sand. I mean, to make he'll make mistakes. We saw what Indiana was able to do with their defense. I think you have better pass rushers than Indiana. I think if you're able to rush 4 only, get home, rush the clock on Julian Sand, and not blitz as much as you need to, I think you're money. I think you're gold against Ohio State. And Miami, obviously, we talked about it last year. They've gotten a lot better in the back end playing defense because last year they were just terrible covering wide receivers. Last year, I think this year they're a lot better, and they have the athletes that can keep up with Ohio State's wide receivers. And they shut down Casey's Concepcion last week. You got a big tough task with Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate this week. But I think Miami has the athletes to be able to do it. I like this game, to be a close 1-score game all the way down to the wire. And I'm going to go Miami to win this game. And make sure you guys catch the preview from Christian dropping that an hour before game.
Absolutely.
Time, so
and also, like another key from Miami, you have to know where Caleb Downs is. I mean, he is the enforcer on this defense. I think Caleb Downs is the next great safety to play in the National Football League.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you this right now. That's why I say Mark Fletcher is going to have a big game, because I just don't see it. I just don't see Malachi Tony as a true freshman kind of getting off against this defense. They're going to have to pick and he's twitchy fast. He's, it comes with experience and finding holes in the zone. But I mean, I do not want to be the guy taking the pass over the middle and taking that hit from Caleb Downs. So I think Mark Fletcher is going, and running the football is going to do what, Christian? Bring those safeties up into the box.
It's going to bring those safeties in the box. You can use your play action. You could take a shot over the top, because Indiana did that. Indiana ran that football. They forced Ohio State to put additional men in the box. And then what did Fernando Mendoza do? He took shots down the field. But the biggest key for Miami is also it's Carson Beck. Which version of him do we get? And you've heard me say this to you quite a bit. If they get good Carson Beck, Miami runs away.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say is that the difference between Indiana and Miami is I feel like Indiana has probably, if not the second or third, they have a top 3 wide receiver room in Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. Right, as opposed to Miami, where it's just like Malachi Tony's like a budding star, and the other 2 guys, CJ Daniels is good too. He's good too, but what version are we going to see of him? He was a little, so we got those guys have to step it up for Carson Beck. They have to get open. They have to win their individual matchups.
I agree.
In order to win. But I like Miami. I think they're going to run the football, play the time possession game. And then we have the New Year's Day games, and these are in order. The first game on the slate is the Orange Bowl, where we have number 5 Oregon going up against number 4 Texas Tech and all of their booster money that everybody's talking about. Seriously, everybody's just like Texas Tech. They're not a blue blood. They bought their team. So has everybody else for 50 years. That's Ohio State, Michigan, and everybody else, right? So we have these 2 teams, and I want to say this is going to be an interesting matchup because Oregon has a lot of talent. We're going to see Dante Moore, but we're also going to see probably the best linebacking core in college football with Texas Tech.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Texas Tech hasn't seen a team with the talent that they're going to see in the Oregon Ducks on New Year's Day. And I will say this about Oregon. I know they didn't necessarily look the greatest against James Madison, because I felt just like you. I felt they took their foot off the gas pedal. I previewed this one last week, Izzy, but that was the best I've seen Dante Moore look all year long. I'm watching Malik Benson in this game. I think he has a chance to really flip the switch in this game, because Texas Tech, they're going to load that box to stop who? Whittington in the backfield. They're going they're going to look to stop that running game and Noah Whittington, and they're going to try all they can. They're going to do all they can to limit Dante Moore. Keep him in the pocket and make him a pocket passer because I think he's at his best when he's throwing the ball on the run.
Yeah, and they're gonna test those linebackers with Kenyon Sadiq as
Oh
well
yeah,
at the
absolutely,
tight end position. I mean, he's gonna be the
absolutely.
best player on the field, in my opinion. But hey, man, Texas Tech, they have an excellent quarterback in Baron Morton. They
Been one of
have
the best I've seen in the country this year because he has
Cameron
such
Dickey.
command and control of the offense. But here's the thing that I like about Texas Tech: they can beat you in so many ways.
Yes,
Like
they
the
can run
first time, yeah,
with Dickey. So
and he's my X factor, Cameron Dickey. I look for him to kind of control things, control the line of scrimmage, keep that Oregon offense on the sideline. To me, this is a coin flip. I'm gonna take Oregon in this one. I think Oregon has enough to beat them. I think they're gonna get after Baron Morton. But here's the thing: Texas Tech, they have a three-headed monster at running back. They have David Bailey on one side. You got Romello Height on the other side, and then you have the
yes,
guy that brings it all together in the middle, and Jacob Rodriguez, baby.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Jacob Rodriguez, I mean, and they call him what they call him, the Stash Bros or something like that. Those guys are, man. Those guys are amazing. I think those are the best. I mean, we talk about linebacking core, right? We talk about LSU. We talked about the Witt brothers, the Witt Weeks, and we talk about the Weeks brothers. We talked about LSU and how good they are and how talented they were. But Texas Tech, man, they came out this year. Those three linebackers, they have really played the best football, in my opinion, out of all the linebacking cores. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think, uh, you know, what's the pass rush going to look like, right? If they can't get any, what Oregon's going to have to do is they're going to have to get rid of the football real quick, right? And if they can get those fast, speedy guys on the edge and get them into space, I think it'll be a long day for Texas Tech because they're going to have to bring guys up in the box. And then that's when you start playing cover zero, you start playing man. Then, that's, and especially if they can get the running game going, which I don't think Oregon is going to necessarily get the run game going off the bat. I think it's going to take some time. I think if they spread them out a little bit and they start passing the little passes on, the little jet screens and all this stuff and getting guys on the edge, which are pretty basically like run plays. When you throw those screens, bubble screens and stuff of that nature, and then they start opening it up, spread it out, spread those linebackers out a little bit. That opens up Kenyon Sadiq in like the slot and kind of in that middle seam area where he loves to work. In between the linebackers, and no linebacker in the country, I don't care how good you are, can keep up with the athlete like Kenyon Sadiq. So we're going to see if Oregon, it's going to be key if they can run the football, like you said, that will open up everything else. If they can't score points, and another thing is they will probably be able to kind of keep, score points. Can Texas Tech keep up with that with them as well, scoring points? I think they can. I think this is going to be a high scoring game.
I can see that.
Oregon's a 2.5-point favorite. I can see this going down to the wire. Whichever team has the ball last will probably win this football game, in my opinion. Next game we have on the slate as a second game. We have 3 on New Year's Day, jam-packed Thursday for college football, and this is the Rose Bowl as we got number 9 Alabama going against the number 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers and Kurt Cignetti and the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza. Alabama coming off that big win in the first round against Oklahoma. Indiana with the bye. How do you see this one playing out, Christian?
So this is the first meeting between these two, and I think we have 2 of the best coaches in the country. I also think this is the best quarterback matchup we have out of all 4 games. I mean, Ty Simpson, he was automatic this year. It's the last name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree.
And then obviously we have the Heisman winner in Fernando Mendoza. But, Indiana, they haven't played in a while. So rust could potentially be a factor in this game. And then Alabama, you won that game against Oklahoma. Now it's time to put it behind you. Focus. This is the best team in the country. I think this is the best team in this tournament. Indiana is physical on both sides of the football. They can wear you down offensively, and then they can punch you in the mouth defensively. I previewed this one today, Izzy, and I think the biggest key for Alabama they have to get pressure on Fernando Mendoza. He's left games where he's had too clean of a jersey, in my opinion. And can Ty Simpson avoid the pressure throws? Because Indiana, they're going to throw a lot of looks at him. Michael
Mhm.
Kamara, Stephen Daly. They're the two best pass rushers for Indiana. D'Angelo Pons, he's probably going to be on Ryan Williams. And I want to see what Indiana can do against Jam Miller. He didn't really have an impact last week against Oklahoma, but I know Alabama's going to want to get him going. And Alabama, they're going to have to disrupt Fernando Mendoza and his rhythm, and force
Mhm.
quicker throws because Fernando likes to stand back in that pocket and he likes to buy time. I think this comes down to the final 2 minutes, and this comes down to who has the ball last, and I think it's going to be Indiana. I'm going against you. I like the Hoosiers, baby.
Yeah, I just love what I saw at that front seven from Alabama last week. I think, or 2 weeks ago. I think that those guys, led by Tim Keenan at nose tackle, he's a space eater. He takes up two guys. It's hard to really block him up the middle. I don't think Indiana necessarily gets the run game going. I don't think they've seen when Alabama is at their best. I don't think they've seen a more physical, more physically imposing, dominating team. And I think, and I brought it up again, this is hard. This is a bad matchup for Indiana, especially on a neutral site field, because you're playing the Alabama team that they would have. I think in cold weather would have been worse, but I think on a neutral side field, they're going to play a lot better. They're going to be more comfortable. They're going to play a lot better in the Rose Bowl. And look, hey, they were here 2 years ago? I mean, with Nick Saban against Michigan,
Yeah, that ended up being
lost.
his final game.
Yeah, and lost, and that was a really good game. And I don't know if some of those guys are on that team, but especially on defense. But I mean, you got some guys on the offense, like I said, that need to step up. Ryan Williams needs to step it up. He just cannot get separation for whatever it is. Hopefully, he can say he went from being a darling last year to kind of coming down and having like a sophomore slump. One guy I think is an X factor for me for Alabama outside of like Ty Simpson is Jeremy Bernard. I think he's a guy, he's a jack of all trades. They move him all over the place, right? They could, he can run the football, you get him on jet sweeps, you can put him in the slot, you can put him on the outside, you can, throw bubble screens, he can catch it on drag routes, he can run dagger routes, he can take it over the middle of the field. He could do pretty much everything for Alabama. And so it's all about what you're doing keying in if you're Indiana, because if he can get going, it could be a long day for them. But I got Alabama's defense. I think they're going to make it tough on Fernando Mendoza. I think that those holes, those windows are going to be a lot smaller against Alabama. And we'll see. All the SEC faithful are going to be chirping in this game if Alabama wins. So you better hope that Indiana does, because Big Ten fans aren't going to like what the SEC faithful going to have to say. So
Look, you say Jeremy Bernard. I raise you one. I'm watching the big guy in the middle for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He goes by the name of Tim Keenan the third, 6'2", 320 pounds, and he's that pocket pusher. And I always tell you, Izzy, pressure up the middle is harder to defend than it is coming off the edges. And if he
yeah,
can push that pocket, if he can set the tone, everyone else can eat around for this Alabama defense. And he's a true lane eater. He clogs up the lanes, and he may not show up on the stat sheet necessarily, but his presence and his impact are definitely felt.
absolutely.
And then
And
when I
then we
look
have.
at
Oh, go ahead,
Indiana,
brother.
and then when I look at Indiana, Omar Cooper. Look,
Yeah.
Elijah Surratt has been great, but Omar Cooper to me is the ignition to this entire offense. You remember that catch he made in
Oh
Happy
yeah, against Penn
Valley
State.
against Penn
Yep.
State? Yeah, and when he wants the ball, Fernando calls his number and he answers the phone. He comes out the phone booth. He's going to be key in this one for Indiana, because I think he can put a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on the Alabama secondary.
Absolutely. I do agree. I like both of those guys in this game. And then our last game of New Year's Day, and that is the Sugar Bowl between Ole Miss and Georgia. And this is a classic, two SEC teams playing in the Sugar Bowl, SEC Classic here. with Ole Miss, number 6 Ole Miss going against number 3 Georgia. And these two teams is a rematch of earlier in the season when these two teams faced. I believe it had to be in the middle of the season, where Georgia won 43-35 in between the hedges. And this was a game, Trinidad Chambliss, Gunnar Stockton kind of slinging it all over the field a little bit, both on just under 300 yards in this game. If I'm not mistaken, Ole Miss really couldn't get the ground game going against Georgia, but nobody really can. And I think that game was a October 18th game, so middle October game.
Yeah, I remember I previewed the regular season matchup, Izzy, and Ole Miss had them for 3 quarters, and then that Georgia defense just rose to the occasion, and they held
17 points in the fourth quarter.
And they held Ole Miss to a single yard of offense.
They scored 17 points. They scored 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Ole Miss only had a single yard of offense in the entire fourth quarter. It takes more than 3 quarters to beat the Georgia Bulldogs.
Gunnar Stockton that game, by the way, Christian, 26-31, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton isn't a bad quarterback. Everybody wants to say he's not all that great, but they don't watch it like we do.
5 total touchdowns. He also had 59 yards rushing with a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, and
I think total MVP of that game.
Yeah, and I think he can put pressure on this Ole Miss defense with his mobility, because you just never know what you're gonna get. He stands back in the pocket, and if the play breaks down, kind of channels his inner Josh Allen. Not saying he's as big as him, but when the lane's open and it's man coverage and nobody accounts for the quarterback in that man coverage, he's taking advantage of the open field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a game in which, look, Georgia, they know that they could beat Ole Miss. This is a game they're going to miss Lane. Ole Miss is going to miss Lane Kiffin calling the plays. There's a lot of, talent on Ole Miss. Deshaun Stribling, Harrison Wallace the third, right? Deuce Alexander. You also have Kawan Lacey, right? Running the football. And then Trinidad Chambliss is the straw that stirs the drink for them. But I just don't think it's enough. I think I called this pretty much from maybe week 10 on, or whatever the case is, towards the end of the year. I think Georgia is going to be the favorite to win a national championship. I don't think this game will be even close. I think Georgia dominates this game against Ole Miss. I think they win by a couple scores, couple touchdowns in this game. I think Trinidad Chambliss he was kind of banged up from the last game that they played against Tulane. He got a couple hits, but he was on fire against Tulane. But this is Georgia. It ain't Tulane you're playing. And I think that defense on Georgia's side is going to be flying around the field for them. So yeah, give me Georgia to win this ball game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Georgia Bulldogs as well. Man, it's finally here, Izzy. I feel football is at its peak right now. You got college football playoff, week 18 of the NFL. Can't wait to talk about that with you as well. But man, the college football, there's really not a bad matchup in sight. I was telling that to David when I did the prime with him, talking about the NFL. Each matchup has its own storyline. You got the bluest of blue bloods with Miami and Ohio State, Oregon and Texas Tech. I think this is as evenly matched of a game as you're going to see. Alabama, Indiana, first time meeting. Is Fernando Mendoza ready for the stingy defense that he's about to see with the Alabama Crimson Tide? And Ole Miss and Georgia, these two played earlier in the year, like you mentioned. And look, when Georgia needed to step up, they did it. And after this, we have 4. Then it goes to Miami, and we crown a champion.
And man, this college football season has gone by super fast. Where's the time gone? But we are here with the best 8 that the college football landscape has to offer. But anyways, that's been a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here on all platforms where you can view and hear Prime Sports World, as we bring it all the time, every week. And let us know in the comment section who you think is going to win the national title this year and your picks to win those games on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But I am your host. This is a wrap. I'm your host, Israel Rivera. There goes Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz blog. Don't forget to catch his preview of Miami, Ohio State an hour before the matchup. And Hopefully, everybody had a good Christmas and got everything what they want. And make sure on Wednesday, on New Year's Eve, you guys drink responsibly, and make
Call
sure
a
that you guys
Uber.
get
Call a
call.
Uber. Call a Lyft.
Yes,
Get a
yes.
taxi. Like
Walk home if you
seriously.
need to.
Don't
Yeah,
be
go ahead.
stupid. Don't
Don't
be
be
stupid.
stupid. They gonna be
Please
out
don't.
here. They gonna
Don't
be
be
out here.
don't be stupid, man. Your lives are too valuable to not
Lives
just
are too
you,
valuable.
but the
Number
people,
one.
but the people in your life as well. But Izzy, man, happy New Year, brother. I
Happy New
appreciate
Year if I don't see you. Yes, exactly. We
man.
probably gonna say it. We probably gonna chat and talk. But Happy New
Absolutely.
Year as I got you on here. Happy New Year, my brother. It's been
Man.
another one around the sun.
Listen,
And
I can't wait to do
2026
it
is gonna
again.
bring a lot of joy to everybody.
Look, man, I
So
can't wait to do it again next
2026 is
year.
our year.
Look, I'm already coming back next year. Look, I'm signed with y'all for life. Y'all got me forever.
We
You
signed up. We
yeah.
signed up, y'all.
Yeah.
We signed up. And
All
in
right,
case you
Izzy, should we
guys,
do it? Should we do it for the final
oh
time?
yeah, for the last one in 2025. Look, everybody, in case I missed you and you didn't join the show, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
He threw that thing off the backboard like T-Mac in 02. You know how I do it. Just for me to say, holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy, and we'll see you guys in 2026.
Absolutely.
Y'all peace out and have a great night. Atlanta, BTA, like
BTA.
like TJ said,
BTA.
BTA on the Rams. And yes, your boy officially lost his fantasy football championship matchup because Bijan Robinson just went ape shit crazy in the first half. But y'all have a peace out. We signing out. Peace out, y'all.